It's Sunday, which means it's recap time here on the Retirement Quick Tips podcast. The theme this week was what your money means and how to use it well. Some of the key takeaways from the book of this title, What Your Money Means and How to Use It Well by Frank Hanna. If you missed any of the episodes, I talked about, his book, it's nothing necessarily new. Like these concepts have been around. But the core question of the book is, am I using my money? Am I spending my money as I ought to? He lays out a framework for categories of spending where, yes, if you're spending your money on these things like, dental care, certain beneficial goods that lead to growth and virtue and happiness, these are good and right ways to spend your money. But many of us fall into some of the dangers of having what we call non-essential wealth, where we spend it all on ourselves, we accumulate it, we hoard it, we're not generous with that. It creates problems for us and down the road for loved ones as well. So I spent some time talking about the dangers of having non-essential wealth, and the more you have of that, the more dangerous it becomes for you and your loved ones. Then I moved to talking about what to do with that non-essential wealth. And the essence of that is stewardship. I am not an owner of the money that has been trusted to me. I am a steward of it. And the best thing that I can do as a steward, especially of all of my money, but especially of non-essential wealth, is to provide for the common good and to facilitate the universal destination of goods, which is saying that this is meant for all of us. It sounds kind of like communism, but it's not because we're not handing it over to the government to do with it as they please. We are retaining that decision about what happens to the money that we are stewards of. Lastly, I talked about, a couple of concepts related to giving. Frank Hanna emphasizes the importance of giving that money away now because there's a multitude of benefits associated with doing it now. Detachment, becoming generous, building that consistency and habit over time. And then lastly, yesterday, I laid out a formula that he provides in his book for giving. That may seem radical at first, but the goal here is to, once all of your fundamental needs and beneficial goods, once all those fundamentals are provided for now and into the future, anything left over is non-essential wealth. And we have to be very discerning and careful what we do about that, not spend it on ourselves, but use it to provide for the fundamental needs of others. I talk about a formula that he lays out in the book for doing exactly that. I would say the most important takeaway from this week is that one is read the book. If you were curious, or even if some of the things I said rubbed you the wrong way, that's something to pay attention to. Why is that? And so I think for most of us, this is a book that is practical, it's useful, and it provides a framework for the very important decisions that you'll be making about money day in and day out, year in and year out. And then when it comes time to set up your will and your estate plan, I would recommend this book for virtually anybody who has or is expected to have at some point some measure of non-essential wealth. The other thing I would say about this is that pick it up, read it. It's a great book. It's very practical. It's an easy read. It's not technical in any way. And I think it will importantly reframe your decisions about how you spend money. And I think in the society that we live in today, and the fact that our culture constantly tells us the opposite message of what is in this book, it's a very refreshing book and a very important book. If we're going to sort of change the culture, we do that in our own lives and at home. But this culture of materialism and me, and selfishness and just looking out for our own needs is not good. And we want to change that. And we do that in our own homes, in our own lives, with our own families, first and foremost. All right, so tomorrow I'm starting a brand new theme. I'm talking about top retiree regrets. What are some of the things that retirees say that they maybe weren't expecting, but that they regret once they're in retirement? I'll talk about that more next week. Thank you so much for listening this week. If you are enjoying the podcast, please share the show. If you haven't subscribed already, be sure to do that. And that way you'll get notified every single day when I publish a new episode. And if you're interested in learning more about working with me, you can check out my website, truenorthra.com. Thank you so much for sharing the love and spreading the word. I hope you have a blessed Sunday. My name is Ashley Mitchikay, and this is the Retirement Quick Tips Podcast.